Physical geography. The Great American Mountain Ranges. The Rockies and the Appalachians both stretch from the north to the south of the United States. How do these two ranges compare? Rocky Mountains. This range of high, rugged peaks is in the west. These young mountains were formed about 75 million years ago when two tectonic plates crashed into each other. The highest peak is more than 14,400 feet tall. Appalachian Mountains, at about 350 million years old, this range in the east is much older than the Rockies. It is also not as tall. The highest point is about 6,600 feet. Thick forests of trees like evergreens cover almost the entire range. Searching high and low. How would you like to be below the sea without going underwater? A trip to Badwater Basin in Death Valley, California, provides a similar experience. The basin is 282 feet below sea level, making it the highest point in North America. The air is heavy and hot. In summer, it is often more than 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and then the pictures, depending on which side of the Rockies you're on, water flows in different directions. On the west side, water flows to the Pacific Ocean. On the east side, water flows the opposite way toward the Atlantic or Atlantic Ocean. Many years ago in Death Valley, inland seas dried up, leaving flat sheets of salt behind. These are called salt pans or salt flats. Our nation's water sources. 23 U.S. states border an ocean or sea, but the other 27 states aren't left out to dry. Two kinds of bodies of water can be found in the rest of the country. Water on the move. Rivers are like roads, always moving. The flowing water, rocks, sand, and boats full of people along with it. When rivers empty into the ocean, the rocks and sand they carry, called sediment, begin to pile up. The Mississippi River and Colorado River Delta were formed from piles of sediment. Rivers can also be compared to great drains. Imagine that the United States is like a big bathtub. Rain and melting snow fill it up with water. Some of the water soaks into the ground or evaporates into the air. The leftover water needs some place to go. Rivers drain all that water out to sea. The Mississippi River and the rivers that connect with it are like big drains. In fact, the Mississippi River drains about 1/8 of the entire continent of North America. Perhaps that is why the native Ojibwe people gave the river the name Mississippi, which means great river. Water at rest. Imagine a giant bowl has been dug into the ground and filled with water. The water is at rest because it is fully contained by the sides of the bowl. Our nation's lakes, ponds, and swamps are like giant bowls. Even the water in the Great Lakes, the largest freshwater system on Earth, is at rest. The Great Lakes are so big they can be seen from space. This vast water supply is not only a valuable resource for people, but also helps support large wilderness areas. These areas include a variety of animals such as beavers, bears, moose, migrating birds, and many different kinds of fish. The Great Lakes contain about 6 quadrillion gallons of fresh water, making them the nation's most valuable water source. The photo above shows part of Chicago's border with Lake Michigan. High and dry. Dry, dusty, flat. These words are often used to describe the desert. True deserts are dry. Most get less than 10 inches of rain per year, but they're not lifeless. Animals like tortoises, roadrunners, snakes, coyotes, and bats make their homes here. Cactus plants and trees store up water and live for decades. The landscape is diverse too. With high mountains and low valleys, there are 3 major deserts in the United States. Great Basin Desert. It gets pretty cold in this 190,000 square mile desert. Sitting between the Rockies and the Sierra Nevada, it has an average elevation of 4,000 to 6,500 feet. The higher elevation means that it can actually snow in winter. Sonoran Desert, with 2 wet seasons and up to 15 inches of rain a year, this 120,000 square mile desert is one of the wettest on Earth. It's also the only place in the world where saguaro cactus grow. Mojave Desert. If you see Joshua trees, you've entered the 15,000 square mile Mojave. Here you'll find big cities like Las Vegas, as well as small towns and ghost towns. It has the lowest point in the country and many tall mountain peaks. Formation of the grasslands. The Great Plains stretch for miles through the middle of the country. They consist of rolling hills and flat grassy prairies. Long before bison and antelope roamed the area, it was covered in water. Then the rise of the Rocky Mountains began. All of the water started flowing down the slope of this rising range. As waters washed away the rocky layers, the land flattened into plains. Today, the Gentle Plains are a land of extremes, with freezing winters, sizzling summers, high winds, and tornadoes. The grasslands receive only about 15 to 20 inches of rain a year, so the grasses grow long, strong roots that dig deep into the ground for water. This turns the prairies into sod, makes them tough to plow. Many early plain settlers actually built their houses out of sod. Here's many settlers came to the plains in search of farmland. Years of good rainfall were followed by years of drought. An especially dry period occurred in the 1930s, the Dust Bowl cycle. Some people say the Grand Canyon acts as a connection between east and west. Signs of the Mojave Deserts are on the western side of the canyon, while Sonoran Desert plants cover the eastern side.